Hi, Fred.
Sound yet, haven't got my video yet, but there we have, yes. So there we go. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, a little bit low, but...
Oh, hang on, Fred. Wait a minute. Good, I can hear you now.
Yes, so welcome to the first live stream. And this is amazing to have you here, Fred. So without further ado, I'll hand over to you and let you run the live stream.
Brilliant. Okay, well, here I am. So let me introduce myself to begin with. So my name is Fred Copestake. I'm founder of Brindis, which is a sales training consultancy. Over the last 22, 23 years, I've been around the world, 14 times. I've worked in 36 countries, trained over 10,000 salespeople. So while doing that, I've been able to really understand what are the challenges that modern salespeople have. And that is what helped me to write my first book. Selling Through Partnering Skills is all about how we can deal with those challenges. More recently, salespeople have been layered up with another set of challenges. And that's why I wrote my second book, Hybrid Selling. So yeah, I'm all about working with salespeople. I'm all about helping people to understand what good sales skills are. Now, normally this is in the B2B, business to business, commercial environment. However, what I'm really excited about is working with at pace so that we can take these sales skills and help more people understand what they are. So this might be that people do want a career in sales. Fantastic. Here will be a good solid foundation. It could be that you think, I don't want to go anywhere near sales. But what my job is to do is to help you understand some of the skills that salespeople use and how you can use those in life. Big opinion I have, and I have quite a few, but sales skills are life skills. So by taking you through some of the things that I will train salespeople to do, there'll be things that you can use whatever your choice of career. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. That's why I'm stood here. That's why I'm sharing this stuff. If you're watching this on record, brilliant. If you're watching this live, so then chat. Chat is an important function that we use a lot. I'll quite often be asking you to put things into that. So just be aware. If you're watching it on record, we might have edited some of those little bits out. So you think, what's he talking about? But yeah, if we're live, we'll be doing some stuff. We'll be keeping it interactive. Cool. So before we get properly into the questioning skills that today is all about, I do just want to speak about learning. I'm going to do about this every single session, actually, because I've realized that one of the things that we can help people to do is to think about how they can develop themselves better. And so there's a principle that I will always work to, all the training, all the stuff that I put together. This is the principle of 70, 20, 10. And this is all about where learning takes place. Only about 10% of learning takes place in the classroom. So here, I can help you with that 10% of your learning. The 70% is all about the stuff that happens in real life. So you've got to be thinking about, how can I take these things away? How can I start to do it? I get people to think about their aha moments. An aha moment is aha, I can use that, I can do that, I can take that away. So be very, very aware of getting your aha moments. Write them down and then do something with them. Now, an aha moment doesn't necessarily have to be something massive. I've got a concept that I love, which is the aggregation of marginal gains. Okay, so what's this about? Well, a marginal gain, that's a small thing. It's something where you get slightly better. But when we aggregate them, when we stack them up, they become quite a big gain. It's what lots of elite sports teams try to do. They try to aggregate these small things that's going to make them better and better. So easy way to think about this is we could do 100 things just 1% better. So even something that you think, hey, that's quite small, that's good, think about it and apply it, because it may well be easier to apply. So just think about that. And then the other thing that I want to really encourage you to think about in this session, in all of the learning you do, is the concept of a comfort zone. So probably already understand the concept of the comfort zone. It's where we spend most of our time. We hang out in a comfort zone because it's comfortable. It's easy, you know. But what we need to do is we need to push out of that. When we push out, we move into what we will call the stretch zone. Stretch zone, learning zone. And as a professional trainer, as a coach, this is my job. I want to push people out of their comfort zone and really get them thinking about what are the things that they can stretch themselves and learn. Don't go out of stretch zone into panic zone. We don't want that. That's pushing yourself too far. But if we can help people to really think about that, that's where we make a difference. So again, please be aware of some of these concepts as we're working through this whole session. Really, I mean, this is kind of what the whole At Pace Academy is about. And so the live stream is very much part and parcel of that. So at this stage, I will now be talking to you about what are your wins. A little recap from the last session. But this is the first. This is our solo voyage, our maiden voyage. It's not solo, it's maiden voyage too. So I can't do that bit. So yeah, saves a little bit of time. It means I can get right into this session about questioning skills. And I'm going to really start to talk about three main areas. First, we're going to talk about the communication ratio. We're then going to talk about questioning tools. But then I want to build upon the questioning tools and kind of wrap those into a model which salespeople use, a consultative selling model. All about questioning. That's the focus for today. Big, big area. So I will move swiftly on. And I will introduce you to the communication ratio. Now, I'll often ask people in training, have they heard of that? Can they have a guess at what it is? Quite often people say, well, is it 80-20? Which is always a good guess. Ever ask the ratio, go for 80-20. It's always pretty much a good ratio, Pareto principle. Certainly as a salesperson, it's an important ratio because 80% of your business is probably going to come from 20% of your customers. It always kind of pans out like that. Sounds crazy, but it is. That's not what we're talking about this time. 70-30, 50-50. Look, we can think of lots of different numbers, but the one that I really want you to take away is that the communication ratio is 2-to-1. 2-to-1. This is a listen to talk ratio. Listen to talk. This is absolutely key. There is a perception in sales that you have to be able to talk the hind legs off a donkey, that the gift of the gab, that the ability to talk is really good. In actual fact, it's not. Good salespeople are the people that are able to listen better. They listen better. Because when we listen, we can start to understand, we can start to really think about what is a person trying to do, what are they trying to achieve, and how can we help them? So little thing to help you remember this. I want you to remember this little expression. You might well have heard it before. And it goes along the lines of, we have 2 ears and we have 1 mouth. And so we use it in that proportion. 2 ears, 1 mouth, use it in that proportion. But you've seen that I've drawn 2 eyes as well. So you might have heard the 2 ears, 1 mouth. 2 eyes. Why would I say 2 eyes? Because we want to look at people while we're communicating with them. We can pick up so much information through body language. Some of the studies, Albert Morabian has talked about that over half of the communication we will have face-to-face, even over camera like this, is through body language. So that's why I want to present like this. It's why I want to stand up. It's why I want to be able to use the whole of my body to get my message across. So again, as a good salesperson, we'll be looking at people. How are they expressing stuff? Does that match with the words that they're actually using? We're looking for a thing called congruence. Does it match up? So be very aware. If we can get to see people, all the better. And in today's virtual world, virtual selling world, where people still don't want to put cameras on, I don't get it. I don't understand why you wouldn't do that. You're taking away a huge part of communication. Really try to encourage people to do that. Try to do that yourself. So we've got 2 ears and 2 eyes. Now we also, and please don't comment in chat on my artistic skills. We have, I am trying to draw 2 feet. Now, why am I drawing 2 feet? 2 feet, it's all about where we can put our feet. Again, we have a lot of fun in training where people say, oh, we can put them under the table, we can put our foot in the door, we can put our foot in our mouth. I thought, well, no, that's not why I'm drawing it. I want you to think about how you can put your feet in someone else's shoes. Again, you've probably come across that expression before. When we put our feet in someone else's shoes, that's an indication that we're really understanding things from their point of view. Very conscious way of thinking, conscious way of listening, actually. And so we very deliberately try to put ourselves in their shoes. This is the definition of empathy. We want to empathize with people. Not sympathy, not feel sorry for them. Now, maybe because of what we've understood, we might feel sorry for them. But this is all about empathy. We can understand things from their angle, their perspective, what it means to them, why it's important. So then we can think about, well, how can we help them with that? How can we do something? It's a way better level of listening. So just a very quick thing about listening. Another little model I would just like you to consider is that I will talk to salespeople about the 4 levels of listening that we have. At the bottom end, this is where we are skim listening. We've all done this stuff. It's where you kind of aware of a conversation, you don't even really know where it's going. If somebody said your name or a really interesting word, it might just grab your attention, but little else. The next level up is survey listening. So survey listening is, again, you're a little bit more engaged, a little bit more bothered. You're actually trying to survey the general landscape of that kind of conversation, know more or less where it's going, but not to any great depth. The information that you'll take and the thinking that you're doing will not be that deep. Again, it's not a good thing as a salesperson or as anybody who's involved in a conversation to make the most of it, to get the best from that. The very best is active listening. Now, this is what we will always encourage people to do. Active listening. Fully take part of what it is that somebody's saying. Concentrate on it. Think about what that means to them. Put yourself in their shoes. Really try to block out distractions. Take notes. Paraphrase. Repeat back. Double check. Ask questions. Summarize. So all of those things will be ways in which we can actively listen and take the most from it. However, the area I think a lot of people, and particularly salespeople, operate, or the level they operate, is this middle level here, which is search listening. A bit more than skim and survey, because we are searching for something that people are going to say. We're waiting for them to say something. We've asked a question. We think we know the answer. We're hoping they're going to give us a certain answer, because that means we can say something. We've got our answer prepared and we're ready to go as soon as they've given us this little opening. We're searching for the thing we want. So whereas somebody might say that, there's also potential that a whole load of other things are passing over our heads. We're missing out on this stuff. So we need to be very aware of what level of listening we're at. We try and shift from search into proper active listening using the ideas that I've talked about. Okay, so communication ratio 2 to 1. Think about the levels of listening and how we're applying them. The very best way of being able to apply that ratio is to ask people questions. Hence the subject of this whole live stream, about questioning skills. So let's think about the different sorts of questions we can ask. Now, many people, I'd probably go and say as most people, will already understand that we have a difference between open questions and closed questions. A closed question, let's deal with this one first, easy to define. It gives us a yes or a no answer. Do you, have you, will you, can you? Yes, no, yes, no. Okay, it's not a great conversation. You'll do more of the speaking yourself because the question will be longer than the answer is. Doesn't mean they're not useful because sometimes we need confirmation. But when we want to get people speaking, when we want to get loads of information in, so we can use our 2 ears, 2 eyes, 2 feet ratio, we want to ask open questions which give a variable answer with people talking more. And so the language pattern, the trick to do this, certainly in English, is to use the W words. What, why, when, where, who, and how. Ooh. How's got W on the end? That's a W word for me. Those questions, starting a sentence with those words, what, why, when, where, who, and how, will give you a variable response. Now, someone's going to have to think more and they're going to have to answer way better. There's a little poem Rudyard Kipling wrote. Rudyard Kipling wrote The Jungle Book, fantastic book. Wrote a poem called If, which is also fantastic. Look that one up. But he also wrote a story. He wrote stories for his children. And he wrote one called The Elephant Child. And in The Elephant Child, there's a wonderful little poem, really short poem, but it's so relevant to this. The poem goes along the lines of, I keep 6 honest serving men who taught me all I knew. Their names were what and where and why, and when and how and who. All about learning. And that's what we're trying to do. We are trying to learn. That's why children ask so many questions. So just like the elephant child, I don't want to spoil the story if you want to read it. It's a cool story. It's why the elephant has a long nose, has the trunk. It's all to do with asking questions. So open questions, closed questions. Even if just that is your aha moment, if you stop watching now, 2-to-1 ratio, active listening, ask open questions, you will be on a better path for better conversations because you'll get the other party talking more. However, I want to take this stuff up an upper level. And I want to think about some other versions of questions. One of the ways that we can consciously ask questions is to ask probing questions. So here what we're doing is when somebody's told us something, we want to go deeper, we want to probe, we want to find out more. Rather than saying, yeah, okay, I understood now, let me talk. No, let's go deeper. And again, there's an excellent little language pattern we can use for this. For probing questions, I would recommend using the TED language pattern. TED is all about tell me, explain, or describe. Starting a sentence with that, somebody's told you something, you say, well, tell me more about that. Or explain exactly what you mean. Or well, can you describe that in greater detail? Those are words which will probe down, we get more and more and more information. Good way of trying to understand better. Sometimes we might ask a summary question. So summary questions are good for part of active listening, where we summarize back to somebody the stuff they've said. So what you've told me is this. Correct? Yes. So it's a closed question more often. But by giving the information back, we're showing we're listening, we're helping the other person make sense of the stuff that they're saying. And as we move into understanding why salespeople ask questions, it isn't just for themselves, it's to help people think, it's to help them make sense of stuff. So again, you're giving people a little recap of the stuff they've said, shows we're listening, helps us listen, helps them think. So if we're all about helping them to think, the use of a hypothetical question is really good. So the hypothetical questions are the ones based around if. If you had unlimited budget, if we had a blank sheet of paper, if you were in charge of the whole company, if we wanted to achieve this faster in 1 year rather than 3 years' time, how do we go about doing this? Asking an if question, it helps people break out of the way in which they might be thinking. And these will lend themselves to another sort of question that I'm going to alert you to in a second. But before I do that, just want to talk about another couple of ways in which we can ask questions without asking questions. But for me, they still count as a questioning tool. So example of what I'm talking about, a question without asking a question, Conrad, you're confusing us now. This would be where we use our body language. I've spoken about it already. Non-verbal communication, that's what NVC is, body language. Just by nodding, showing that you're listening, maybe if you're taking notes, making it clear that you're writing down what people are saying to you, this will encourage them to speak, particularly if you don't. So by using silence, staying quiet, this will encourage people to be able to think and to fill that gap. Often people don't like the silence, it's a bit of a vacuum, so they will speak to fill it. Also, we need to give people time to think. Some people are way more analytical than others. Now, some people just answer questions straight away, almost without thinking. Engage mouth before brain. Others will engage in quite an analytical process of thinking through the answer, thinking through the way in which they're going to answer, and then deliver you the answer. So by getting in the way, you're not helping yourself or helping them. Remember, that's why we're asking questions. A little tip on this is to watch their eyes. Again, that's why we need to see people. If their eyes are moving around, it's more than likely an indication that they are searching for information. They're moving up, they're probably looking for pictures. They're moving to the sides, they're probably looking for sounds they've heard before. They're moving down, they're probably feeling something, probably trying to access an emotion. So by being aware of eye access clues, they're called, or moving eyes, it's somebody thinking. Don't interrupt them, leave them to it. I've seen so many people who will not get an answer, so they'll ask another question. Not an answer, ask another question, another question. Problem is, if you've got somebody who's analytical, they're thinking and then they're trying to process all these questions and you overwhelm them, it becomes too much. So particularly if you've got a more fast, if you're a speedy person, slow down a little bit, let people think. So take these questioning tools and we want to wrap them up into something that we will call a high gain question. So high gain question because we get a lot from it. It's a very deliberate, it's a very thoughtful question. It's something that you've prepared. It's something that you know you're going to have to give people time to stop and think about. Very deliberate. This stuff doesn't happen by accident. When I hear salespeople say, oh yeah, I turn up, I can wing it, I'm great, I've got loads of experience. I'll shake my head because these questions, the best salespeople think about. They're very carefully calibrated to be used at the right time to get somebody to go, whew, I really hadn't thought about that. No, you haven't. And it's my job to help you think. So that's why we're using a high gain question. So it could well be something that's to do with based around a hypothetical, but they work brilliantly. I used a couple actually. They were high gain. If you had a blank sheet of paper, if money was no object, yeah. If you had a magic wand, if you're Harry Potter and you could wave a magic wand and make something happen, what would that be? We're doing things to get people thinking and getting out of the rut or the standard route they would take to try to solve a problem. High gain questions, very deliberate form of getting people to think better. That's what we're trying to do. So be very, very aware of these. Very, very aware of what a high gain question looks like. Try to come up with some examples. Think of what those are. Write them down. Use them more often. Practice them. Could well be an aha moment if you haven't written it down already. Okay, so communication ratio, active listening, questioning tools. The next thing I want to move on to is very much a sales technique. So this is a way in which salespeople who are trying to get a more up-to-date, a more modern approach will start to approach the way they ask questions. It's a consultative sales technique. Consultative salesperson, a salesperson wants to work like a consultant because they help people to do the stuff they're doing better. This is based on modeling of real life activity. So it's actually steps back to the late 80s, early 90s, where a guy called Neil Rackham did a lot of research into what salespeople, the best salespeople, were doing. And one of the things they found was that actually the best salespeople weren't doing the stuff they were trained to do. Because in the 80s, a lot of sales training was about closing, it was about objection handling. It was about a battle with a customer to manipulate them into a position. It was very, very odd. But when they saw that some people were doing better than others, they wanted to understand why. And what these better salespeople were doing is they were asking questions, they're asking more questions, and they're asking better questions. And the reason the questions were better is because, again, I've said it already, it's helping the customer to think. And what was essentially happening was that they were asking questions in such a way that they were creating a gap or a perceived difference. So in the customer's mind, the person they're talking to's mind, where they were now, their current position, was different to where they wanted to be. The current and the ideal position were different. They're establishing this little gap. Now, the temptation of an unskilled salesperson is to then jump in and say, oh, well, guess what? We can do this, we can do this, we can do this. We're great. Look at all this wonderful stuff we've got. Blah, 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 blah. Doesn't work. Or it doesn't work as well as having brilliant discipline and starting to probe, using probing questions. Tell me more about that. Explain why that's important. What's the impact of that? What's the consequence? And what will happen is a good salesperson is able to open up this gap just through conversations. They're not telling the person anything, the customer anything. The customer is telling themselves that where I am now is not where I want to be in the future or I need to be. And the bigger that gap is, the more they want to do something about it. It's consultative selling. We're not trying to push product. We're not trying to explain stuff to them. We don't need to do demos. We're helping them think, whoa, this is where I need to be. Then we can offer a way of saying, well, I can help you do that. That's what I do. That's why we're having this conversation. It's something that I can work with you on. So again, a very effective way of operating. What this questioning technique Neil Rackham developed is known as spin. So it is spin selling. That's the original technique. It's been updated a little bit in the way we apply it, and I'll tell you how. But in the original way of thinking about spin selling, we're talking to customers about their current situation. What's going on? What business are they in? How are they operating? How's it going? Just working out, this is where they are now. But we're trying to work out that they have some kind of problem. Strong word. So it could be an issue, a challenge, a concern, something that means that where they are now isn't where they want to be. And like I say, we've got to have so much discipline not to say, yay, I can do something about that. We talk to them about, well, what are the implications around that? Well, why is that important? What issues does that cause? What are the knock-on effects to it? What's the consequence of that? Who else does that affect? How does that affect your business? What else happens? We're thinking about all of those things which are occurring as a result of. It's where a good consultative salesperson is doing a lot of their best work. It's through asking implication questions. Because at the end, what that's doing is it's widening this gap, and this is how we discover what the customer need is. So what you're telling me, we can use a summary code. What you're telling me is you've got this problem, which means that this, which means that this, which means that this. Yeah, I did say that. Right, okay, well, how about we look at doing something to take that problem away? Oh, please, let's do it. I'll give you a real life example about how we'll do that in training. But the spin questioning model, it's something that was, for me, a sea change in sales. Basically, I mean, consultative. Big change, 80s to 90s. And so the path we've taken since is that salespeople consulting, getting close to customers, collaborating, I say now. That's the context of the book. That's how we need to be. Salespeople are helping. I love the idea of salespeople as a guide. I love the idea of a salesperson as a sense maker. And for what we're doing, we're bringing value to the customer by what we're doing with them. Not just what we sell, not just what we do, but it's our interaction. Questioning is a key part of that. I mentioned that this is, I would think this is slightly different in the way we do this now as to when it was positioned in the 80s. And that would be that we've got to be a little bit careful asking too many situation questions. Back then, there wasn't as much information around. Now we have information at our fingertips. We can go to a sales meeting, we can go to a conversation, having researched, having got quite a lot of information already. So we can get quicker into what are the challenges you've got, or even I suspect you have these challenges, because that's what I'm seeing with some of my other customers. To what degree is that true? Oh, it's that one. Okay, right, let's go down that route. So yeah, the model still rings true, but we don't want too much time telling you how many offices do you got, how many people work for you, what markets do you sell into? It's like, what? Haven't you got internet at your place? Can't you look online and find out that stuff? I'm not going to waste my time telling you that. Because we need to be a bit careful as salespeople, not to waste people's time. We bring value by getting them to think. So say, hey, look, I've seen that you do this, and I recognize these challenges going on in your world. So let me just show how this might pan out in my world of sales training. As I've said, I've been in a very fortunate position where I've traveled a lot and I know what the challenges that people have, and I can lead on that. I can say it's probably one of three things. Busy, 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 oldie worldy or muddled mindset. Busy, busy, busy is where salespeople running around doing a lot of stuff. Oh, too frantic. Yeah, it's not effective. They don't actually get the results. It's the wrong thing. Oldie worldy is actually because they're doing stuff that's old fashioned, then again, they're actually probably annoying customers. And the muddled mindset is that they're not really sure exactly how to position themselves, whether they should be pushing stuff, whether they're consultative, whatever. So I know when I'm asking a question of a potential customer, we could be going down one of these routes. Now, what I'll do is I'll say, so this is what I would see people have as their challenges, explain it in a little bit more detail than I just did there. Which one of those is it for you? And they might say, oh no, it's the busy stuff, Fred. How do you mean? I would ask. Well, no, I can see what you're saying. Yeah, a lot of our salespeople, they are rushing around. They seem to be doing the same thing again and again and again. Their results aren't going up. We know that they then start to throw more effort after the stuff they've been doing, a good effort after bad. I've got to cue it. No, no, I don't say that. Okay. Now, what problems does that cause? Well, that's pretty tiring, pretty stressful for them. It doesn't put them in a good place. It creates a bad environment. Yeah. Okay, and so what does that mean? What are the implications of that? Actually, we've got quite high staff turnover. A lot of people are leaving. Really? Okay, what does that mean for you? The thing is, I know what it means for them. That's not the point. Well, then we've got to recruit people. That costs. We've got to onboard them so they're not making sales straight away. So actually, we're losing a lot of business by not having effective sellers, but we're spending a lot of money to get more sellers in. Nightmare. It's costing us a load. Ah, okay. So can see how we've taken that route. Someone might say, oh, actually, the oldie worldy thing. Yeah, I think a lot of our guys use techniques that are a bit old fashioned. Okay. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means we're not making sales. Well, what else does it mean? Because actually not making sales, we could take that down one route. Well, I think we're not making sales because we're annoying customers. Oh, really? Well, tell me how. Well, I think they're using stuff that's just a bit old fashioned, a bit manipulative. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, that means we're not just making sales, we're getting a bit of a bad reputation. Oh, okay, and so what's an implication of that? Actually, word's going out in the market that we're not really the modern, up-to-date, innovative people that we say we are, because we act in a really old-fashioned way. It's actually big damage on our reputation as a company. Oh, okay. And costing you sales and money. Yeah, it is. Right. How about we deal with that? Again, look, this is a very encapsulated conversation. I'm having it very quickly, but you can see how we can take that down there. Muddled mindset. What's happening there? Well, yeah, to be fair, the salespeople, they're not really sure what they do, and they kind of think, and they know they should ask questions and consult, but then actually they're trying to push sales at the end of the month, so they're discounting heavier. Oh, really? What does that mean? Well, it means we're giving people a cheaper price. And what's the effect of that? We don't make as much money. Oh, really? Okay. So the salespeople that you're saying are consultative are actually transactional, and they're giving money away. So what do you have to do? We have to sell even more. Okay, and how do you do that? We discount more. Okay, then what goes on? Oh, we're giving even more. Oh, yeah, now we think about it. Nightmare. Okay, silly examples. Not all that silly, but the conversation obviously doesn't happen that quickly, but the conversation can do that. In my world, 3 paths that we can go down. Now, any one of those paths gives an opportunity to say, look, I can help you with that stuff. Imagine, though, the power of the discipline, not just to do that, but to say, you know what, I can do something around that. But you also mentioned that you were worried about salespeople not being up to date enough. Talk me through that a little bit more. Tell me, explain to me, describe me. That path and that path, look at what's happening now. The reason that somebody's going to be buying is that there is a huge gap that's going on. There's a really big need. That painful for them. It's something that they want to start to think about. Okay, I need to close that gap up. I need to do stuff about it. Show me how you do it. Of course I can. Now I go into tell mode. The 2-to-1 ratio starts to change. And it would be right to do it because I need to give more information as a result of what we found out. So powerful questioning to get people thinking puts you in a really good position to start to then influence and start to persuade, because the stuff that you would say would make more sense for them to want to listen to want to take on board, to want to apply. So that's how that kind of questioning structure works. So you might see it with different acronyms, but the original is SPIN: situation, problem, implications, and need. The work, as I've said, and I'm literally going to underline it, is around the implications. What's the effect of that? What's the implication of that? What's the consequence of that? Why is that important? Who does that affect? All those knock-ons. That's what we're looking, because that's what creates the gap. That is what need looks like. And that's why people will buy. So there's quite a lot of stuff. We've gone from quite basic questioning principles, thinking about why we want to apply a 2-to-1 ratio. How do we do that? Basic open close questions, questioning tools, and then very much a questioning model that sales professionals would use. That's where I want to get to. So I don't know if we have any questions at this stage that I need to field. I'm always happy with questions. I love questions.
Yes, there is a question that I see coming, and this is more to do with the questioning skills.
Yes.
Now, a lot of time people are trying to build rapport, and they are trying to ask the right questions.
Yeah.
How do they find the balance between being able to ask interesting or probing questions or open-ended questions and not coming across as incompetent? Because a lot of salespeople believe that they are there to sell, they are not there to ask. So that's
that is a brilliant question, and it's something I've seen so often in less experienced salespeople. They try to prove that they know stuff, so they jump into telling straight away, too early, because they're telling people about stuff that they're not interested in. Yeah. So part of it is having a structure to your conversation, knowing that that is what good selling is. Good selling is helping people to think. You help people to think by asking them questions. Now, from a rapport building point of view, actually questions are brilliant, because what's most people's favorite subject?
Themselves. Yeah, of course.
So you're asking people stuff about themselves. They're going to talk about it. They probably don't notice and don't think, oh, this person's really naive asking me stuff. Probably think, this person's really interesting. Because there's a weird thing. The more interested you are, the more interesting you appear. Yeah, so it's understanding that that is what good sales is about. Now, again, think of it, and I recognize this so well, the kind of the less experienced salespeople talking to a senior person. I need to prove myself. I need to show what I know. Trying to talk to them about stuff that's irrelevant will quickly burn any bridges. They'll think, what an idiot. They're just telling me things that are irrelevant. They don't know how to sell. This person is asking me lots of questions. And this person thinks, excellent. They get it. They understand what selling is, because quite often, and I'm now talking B2B, commercial world, people will have a reasonable grasp of what's going on. And again, don't fall into the trap of, and I'm talking very much about salespeople now, just because you're younger, less experienced, doesn't mean that you're not bringing value, because just asking questions in itself is valuable. What you've got in your pocket, in your bag, in your organization behind you to solve the issues, again, could be massively valuable because they don't know how to do it. A, they didn't know there was a problem. Great, valuable already. Or actually, they did know there's a problem, just don't know how to deal with it. That's where you're going to help. But you can't if you don't understand. Medical expression, prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. Even the most experienced doctor will ask you questions to help you understand. They can look at you and go, I know what's wrong, but they'll help you with that and the prognosis. So yeah, so that's a good on that one.
Awesome. Another question coming up is, I'm a telemarketer. I'm trying to address and call people, cold calling. How can I be more effective at questioning without getting the phone slammed on me?
Well, cold calling is just a whole new subject. But what we've got to do there is to make sure that we've kind of almost earned the right to get that conversation going. Now, there's lots of different ways in which people will do that. And people will talk about pattern interrupt. You are interrupting somebody. So actually what they're expecting, and they kind of realize it's a cold call quick and all that sort of thing. We've got to think about how you're going to deal with that. Yeah, some people say, hi, this is a cold call. I bet you're so pleased you picked it up. She's kind of, oh, I expected that. No, but give me 30 seconds and I'll say why it was a good thing that you did.
I think that's a very nice way to do it. A lot of people just follow the script and it is so cheesy.
Yeah, it is, because it's not putting the element of humanity, whatever you want to say, into it. But by having a bit of a giggle, so you weren't expecting it. It is like, I've heard someone say, do you want to roll the dice? Give me 30 seconds, see whether actually it's been valuable or not. If not, look, we'll part as friends because I'm not wasting too much time. If you think it's useful, we'll take it a little bit further. Okay? Oh, go on, you're quite funny. I like you already. 30 seconds, go. Or no, you got 20. Well, fine. Right, now the next thing you do, you have to hit them with value. Oh, we're an organization which was founded in 1940. The founders were brilliant. It was John and Fred, and what they did is they
shoot
board down, gone, not even 5 seconds. It's no, the reason I'm calling you is because we've worked with companies like yourselves. We see there's 3 big challenges going on in your industry. There's this busyness that salespeople have got running around, just going crazy, getting stressed and leaving work. We've got the other one where actually people are still using stuff that doesn't work, and so they're kind of wasting time. That contributes to stress. And then we've got the one where they're not really sure what they're doing. They'll be kind of the biggest thing. So I don't know if those things are relevant to your business. Yeah, 2 out of 3. Go on, carry on. So again, it's about them, their world, their challenge, something that's happening that they're going to recognize and think, you get it. Has to be about them. As soon as you start talking about yourself, end. Don't bother.
One interesting part that I wanted to pick your brain on, Fred, is a lot of people who are non-salespeople, but they are working in partnership functions. So they could be product managers, they could be design analysts, or they could be HR people, or they could be marketing people. Is this relevant to them?
Yeah. Everyone lives by selling something.
So,
Robert Louis Stevenson said that. what, 200-300 years ago? I don't even know when he lived, but it's a long time, yeah. And they do, because if you look at all of those worlds now, just because it's not sales and you're talking to a customer and you're going to bill them for a service or a product, presumably you are trying to influence them. You're trying to sell them an idea. You're trying to get them to do something different. I mean, project manager, that's exactly what you're trying to do. And marketing, you're trying to get people to think in a different way. So using the skills of kind of asking people questions to help them think, to get them to realize where they are now, where they want to be, are different places, and that you've got a way of helping them with that, this kind of technique would still work. Yeah, so it's helping people think, because when they're deciding for themselves, when they're realizing for themselves, it's a way more powerful way of then giving them the information to do something about it and say, right, you have to do this. Yeah, do I? I can't see the reason why. I'm happy doing what I'm doing. Don't like change. Nah.
Nobody
So
wants.
yeah, that's why sales skills, life skills, and asking questions to help people realize, help them understand, is a really big way. I mean, coaching. You think about coaching, a big part, another part of the Outpace Academy, doesn't it? It talks about coaching. Coaching is all about questions to help people think.
It's all about open-ended.
That close together.
You're right. And there is the right way and there is a wrong way of asking the same question. And I think one of the things that we emphasize a lot in the coaching world, and I'm sure you see that as well in the sales world, is do not put people in an away state while asking the question. Don't make them feel insecure. Don't make them feel as if they're inadequate. So could you give us some tips on how you can ask the same questions in a right way so that you don't, quote unquote, put people in a disconnected phase? They lean into the conversation. So
no. So one of the ways to do it, certainly in sales, is I kind of mentioned it in cold calling, but it's earning the right. It's saying, look, this is the stuff that we do with companies like yourselves. We can get these exceptional results. That's what we're here for. That's what I'm talking to you. To work out whether I can or not, I'm going to need to ask you a couple of questions. Now, doing something like that, it actually means you can be a bit more forceful with a question, because the reason behind it. You can help save me money. You can help me sell more. Go for it. Ask me what you want, if that's where I'm going to get, because you've helped other people to do that. So again, give an indication of that's why I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Yeah.
Sorry.
Sometimes actually in sales is an interesting kind of thing developing, has been around for a little while actually now, is called challenger sales. And again, it's something that less experienced salespeople might struggle a little bit with, is just everything the customer says, take it for written, Now, if it's genuinely like not a bad idea, or generally there's a different option, or there's a different perspective, or something you can do to help them think differently, it is our job to introduce that. But again, it's all, for me, I like to indicate why I'm doing something, where I'm going with it. So yeah, I can hear what you're saying there. I think that's excellent. However, look, it's not my job if I don't get you thinking every single way we can. So let me introduce another option to you. Well, let's have a look at this perspective. Or let me push back on whether that is the best way to do something. Again, if you're doing it as a reasonable person, as a grown-up, and explaining why, I think that gives it the right tone. I don't know if any other part of the academy talks about transactional analysis and adult communication.
That's right.
Yeah, that's what salespeople need to do. Here you go. Get yourself on that part of the academy. All this stuff like maps across. It's like parent-child, not going to work. Adult. Yeah, that's where we want to be.
And by the way, it's a really hard place to be for a lot of people, because the adult-to-adult space requires you to have a very open mindset, approach it with curiosity rather than with, let's say, a pushing or a selling frame.
Yep.
And that's a very big part of what pisses people off when it comes to interacting with pushy salespeople.
And people don't like it, and that's why they're avoiding them. And so when you're going in and pretending you're trying to do something best for them, but you're going to immediately start to talk about yourself, turn off, stop, no, enough. Whilst you're getting me talking about me, guess what? That conversation will go on for a long time. And particularly if it's helping me to understand things, I'm having these like aha moments. Oh, yeah. I hadn't thought of it like that. No, it's my job to help you think. And I'll help you think by asking you rather than pushing stuff in your face. Because when you push something, people push back. It's that's the way for modern sales. This people unfortunately still go into sales thinking I have to sell, and they think sell is to push and tell. Selling isn't telling. With a little catchphrase.
Well, that's a nice one. Selling isn't telling.
Selling isn't telling.
Awesome. All right. So, Fred, one of the things that I would like you to talk about is how can people gain access to more of the exciting content on questioning skills? Where can they reach you, or where can they find more content? What would you advise them to do? And what live stream are you coming up with next?
Sure. So, I mean, if anyone ever wants to connect on LinkedIn, I'm very open to that. Anyone wants to talk about selling, I'll talk about that all day, as you know. The best way, though, it's within the academy, within the Pace Academy. So join up to that. I don't know if we can drop a link into chat, or if people are watching on record, we'll have a link in there so that people can easily get into it. There's live streams every 2 weeks. So I'll come on and I'll do the stuff I've done do now, a little presentation piece, answer some questions. Maybe a few breakouts as we start to kind of shape how these sessions actually work. This is all we will do what's right for people who come into this. Within the academy, then there is a course, there's a set course, there's some videos which have been very deliberately designed for young professionals. They've actually been done by young professionals. I had 2 excellent students working with me a little while ago who I guided through creating the course for people like themselves. So undergraduates or recent graduates. So yeah, that takes us through. Get a similar kind of model I was trying to do here, which is to say, here are broadly the skills, everyone can use them, and here is actually if you're going to the sales profession that you would use them. So everyone can benefit from it. If you want to get a little bit deeper because you want a job in sales, there's a lot of money to be made in it. Then that's how we structure that. So yeah, we can give a link to that, I'm sure.
So on the recorded version, we'll actually put in a link which people can pick up, and then that should be easy for them. So what's your next live stream that you're going to talk about?
The next live stream. So these live streams are shaped around sort of 3 core elements of selling. UCL, understanding, capability, and liking. This was an understanding module. For understanding people, help them understanding themselves. The next one is all about capability. So it's demonstrating that we are capable, credible people who can do the job. In a nutshell, the stuff I did at the beginning, where I introduced myself, what I'd done, where I'd done it, what I produced, and why you should listen to me. Well, that was kind of using some of the techniques around building credibility, building and demonstrating capability. So again, there's some structures, there's some things that if we work out how to tap into them, we can deliver stuff very much more effectively. We'll start off at an individual level. So thinking about how people might go into an interview or just introduce themselves. We'll do that. So we'll do a social pitch. Then what we'll do is we'll go into more of kind of the value proposition. That's how it's been marketed, the value proposition. So yeah, why should I work with you, We'll give some ideas around that.
Brilliant. So thank you for this really exciting live stream. For those of you who joined, thank you so much. And for those of you who are listening on record, please drop in your comments, and we are more than happy to pick them up and help you through the process. Very exciting, Fred. See you soon on the next live stream.
See you soon.